Thursday college basketball edition. Mike Hill alongside our college basketball experts, Andy Katz and Gottlieb. Thanks for hanging out with us. Championship week, guys, so it's time to look ahead to these big week of basketball games before the selection committee does their job on Sunday and reveals the field of 68. I understand Andy has a +9 lead on you, so it's going to be kind of hard for you to catch up if you can catch up at all.
Well, Doug had a nice surge last week, but as we head into Friday night's games, he's got a chance.
No, yeah, listen, I tried to play catch-up, took some shots, especially the previous couple weeks, but I did hit on the Ohio State win at Michigan State, so I'm feeling good about picking important games.
Let's see how you feel about the #1 seeds right now. The #1 seeds will be revealed along with the 68 teams on Sunday. 2 of the top 4 seem to be a lot. Kentucky and Syracuse, the selection committee chairman basically said that both squads into their conference tournament, Syracuse and Kentucky, with 31 records, have been the top 2 ranked teams for the last 6 weeks. But, Doug, you got some interesting thoughts on the Qs.
Yeah, I don't know how you evaluate the Qs in comparison to the other teams on the 1 and the 2 line because of their far inferior schedule. Now, strength of schedule would lead you to believe they played a top 25 strength of schedule. But if you actually look at the schedule, just count the numbers, look at the schedule, because there's flaws in how strength of schedule is calculated. One, it values your opponent's records more so than even your own record. Secondly, it values the guarantee games. You know, teams play 5 to 7 games, which they give a team a check to come play. None of these teams lose those games. It doesn't matter if they're the 150th ranked team or the 300th ranked team. You're not losing it. It's not a team game you can lose. So they shouldn't be valued at the same level as your quality non-conference games. So with that as the premise, look at who Syracuse played. They played Florida and NC State, who's a borderline NCAA tournament team at best. That's it. That's it. And they only played 1 true road game, 2 neutral games in Madison Square Garden, which no one thinks is neutral. Virginia Tech, Stanford, that's not good enough. And so that's their own doing. And then you compare that within the Big East, and if you look at the top 6 record-wise teams in the Big East, South Florida, they played them at home. Georgetown, only at home. They did play at Cincinnati. That was a win. Okay? They did play at Notre Dame. That was a loss. At Georgetown, they only played at home. So their schedule is not nearly as difficult as Carolina, Kentucky, Ohio State, Duke, Michigan State. Not just because out of conference they competed at a far more difficult level, but even within their own conference. And again, this they didn't do to themselves, but all those other teams played the top teams in their conference on the road. Syracuse didn't. That's why you can't evaluate and say 31-1 or whatever is the same as Kentucky's, who played a better schedule.
You buying that?
Okay, you made your point.
Yeah.
But let me tell you what Jeff Hathaway was actually saying on that conference call, the selection committee chair. What he was trying to say, and I don't know if he necessarily said it in the most eloquent way, was that these are the 2 teams that are locks to be #1 seeds.
Yes.
Based on what they had done this season. And by virtue of that, they go in sort of by de facto as the favorites as the 2 top #1s. Now, you can certainly argue, as you just did, whether or not they should be considered a co-favorite with Kentucky or ahead of North Carolina or Kansas or the other teams. What he was saying was those are the 2 teams for certain are locks to be #1 seeds. And after that, you can debate maybe the other #1s.
Yeah, and listen, I don't have a problem with them being a 1 seed, but I think the whole idea of whether 31-1 and they play in the Big East, that's fine. Actually look at who they play in the Big East. Also didn't play at West Virginia. I mean, they didn't play a really soft Big East schedule in a Big East that everyone concedes is down and somehow has manipulated the numbers to people thinking they can get 10 teams in. And they didn't play a top-level schedule out of conference.
But you don't challenge that if you were to fill out your bracket in terms of your 1 seeds, that you would put Kentucky and Syracuse first, based on who you put #1 seeds.
Yeah.
If Sunday night, would you just say Kentucky, Syracuse?
If Carolina wins the ACC tournament, I would put Carolina as the co-favorite.
Okay.
Not favorite, but you would put those 2 definitely as #1s.
Yeah.
Okay.
Syracuse's non-conference strength of schedule was 85 this season. Back in 2003, Carmelo Anthony led them to a championship, put them on his back. Last year, a guy named Kemba Walker took UConn to their 3rd national championship.